Man, this was a fun game until the end, and now the Celtics have added injury to insult. Welcome into Celtics Postgame Live, presented by your New England Ford dealers. I'm Abby Chin. He is Big Perk. We are talking about a 129-119 loss to the Portland Trailblazers. Perk, where do you want to start? The Marcus Smart ejection, I mean, the injury to Jalen and Jason, both limping to the locker room, or the fact that this loss, coupled with Miami, who is up big on the Hornets right now, would drop the Celtics into 7th place in the East?
Well, Abby, there's so many areas that we could touch on, but I just want to talk about how the officiating was horrible tonight. Both ways, right? They blew calls up and down the floor, from the Tristan Thompson putback to the charge on Damian Lillard. Actually, they missed another charge on Damian Lillard. It was so inconsistent, it messed up the floor of the game. And when you look at that tip back by Tristan Thompson, to me, that was the whole game changer right there. It went straight Portland way because right then they hit back-to-back baskets, and then the Celtics could never recover. As far as the Marcus Smart ejection, that is just ridiculous because you can't look like I watched the review as well as everyone else, and you can't say he intentionally stuck his hand out. So, you know, like that thing bothers me. And then all of a sudden you give them an extra free throw. It was just too much. Instead of just calling the offensive foul, play on. I mean, you know, it was just too much throughout the course of this game. But with all that said and done, the Celtics was just too relaxed. 129 points in regulation is just too many points to give up when you're fighting for playoff position and not to be in the play-in tournament.
For the record, that review of the Marcus Smart play took the refs 6 minutes, 8 seconds at the monitor, and still to come away with that call as we bring in Scal now. Scal, we just heard from Perk. What are you hot on following this game?
I mean, there's a lot of ways to go here. I'm most concerned about Jalen and Jason, the way they went down, and I know how it is now. And like this Celtics in the playing game if Miami wins, and now if you have to go 3 games, 4 games, or 5 games without those 2 guys, I'm really worried about that. I agree with Perk. Like, this was a beautiful basketball game up until like the last 5 minutes of this game. Then you had the 2 timeouts by Portland, the bad calls by the officials, and then this right here to top it off. So not really hot on anything from the game, Abby. I'm just really disappointed about how this game ended, and especially with these 2 guys hitting. And the last thing I want to see is Jalen and Jason on the sideline both grabbing their leg like that. That's the last thing I want to see as a Celtic fan, especially in this moment right now.
And Jalen jumping off the court, can't even put weight on that right foot. Perk, what do you make of that? The injury at the end and just seeing that. I mean, the Celtics already without Kemba Walker, and then we know Marcus Smart was back in the locker room as well.
Well, I mean, you know, Abby, I'm not a doctor or anything, but from my eye tells me is that, to me, it looked like they just bumped legs. Hopefully it's nothing serious. It's just a bruise, something that they can ice up and be ready to go next game. I mean, we won't probably all know, but I hate to see it. And then, you know, it's getting to that time where it matters the most. Well, it's to that time where it matters the most. And like Scal said, both of your all-stars are going out. Kemba Walker, we don't know when he's coming back, you know, and just the Celtics don't, you know, they don't have room for this. Like, you know, they're actually playing catch-up and trying to position themselves, and it's just not good right now. It's not a good thing.
Yeah. 7 games to go. The good news is that the Celtics do have 2 days off after this one. Yes, Scal?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, like, I didn't even talk about the beauty of this basketball game up until 5 minutes to go. It was one of the better offensive performances I've seen. And I don't fully disagree with you, Perk. Like, I do think they could have leveled up a little bit defensively. You saw when they needed to, they kind of brought, like, Nesmith and Marcus Smart and Peyton Pritchard. Those guys brought a certain level, but some of the shots that these guys were hitting, I mean, C.J. McCollum and the way that he manipulates the dribble and Jason Tatum going to where he wanted to on attack mode the whole time. And I really enjoyed this basketball game up until, I think it was 3:30 to go when Portland banged out 2 timeouts in a row. Then they had to stop. Then they banged out another timeout to see the review. Up until that point, this was one of the better games of the year.
I don't know, Scal. There was another low point earlier in the fourth quarter when, Perk mentioned it earlier, when the refs called an offensive goaltending on Tristan Thompson when the ball clearly had cleared the cylinder. We're going to look at the video. Perk, you talk about the officials in this game. Mike pointed it out. Sean Wright, the lead official, 16 years in the league, but with all of the COVID, and Baxter Holmes of ESPN wrote an article about this as well, with injuries to refs as well. These are crews that have very little experience.
Yeah, but they're out there. They're at the NBA level. They get evaluated, Abby. So, if they have little experience and they can't deal with the pressure of calling these games, they need to go to college. Because, listen, this was a crucial play. This was a momentum swing. Like the Celtics had just hawked down a 7-point lead. With that bucket, they would have took the lead by one.
Yep.
And who knows what would have happened, whatever. And things like that is draining. Because I believe right after that, Carmelo hit a three and C.J. McCollum hit a three.
Back-to-back threes, and they were down 7, just like that.
That switched the whole game up. Like, they got to get it together. There's 3 officials out there. Like, somebody got to get it right.
Scal, if you're Brad Stevens.
And Perk's right. Like, you can't go like we know that the Damian Lillard, that was a block on Peyton Pritchard, but what Perk is talking about is real momentum. Like, if they let that go and Tristan Thompson throws that ball down, like, I'm pretty sure they're going to come down and get a stop, and the whole game unfolds differently. That Peyton Pritchard block that they ended up calling a charge on Damian Lillard, and I'm sure people will say that, well, look, it balances out. No, it doesn't, because that Tristan Thompson play was the big momentum play that got taken away. So, yeah, no question. And Perk's right. You go around the NBA right now, you want to see officials get it right so the players can dictate the ending. It just wasn't like that today. But, Abby, you mentioned the Nets-Buck game. That had some pretty good officiating in it. So you're just looking for consistency, especially, these guys are fighting for their playoff lives. A call goes one way. Now, all of a sudden, they're in a playing game. You have no idea what happens in a playing game. So it is important to get these calls right.
And then finally, Marcus Smart getting ejected on a tech after, the video looks like he took a swing at Yusuf Nurkic's
Go ahead, Abby, you can say it.
Perk, since you had a lot of time to watch this as we waited 6 minutes for the video review, what do you think about this play?
To be honest, and I'm not being biased here, I think this just went off the history of Marcus Smart.
Yeah, I do too.
He got ejected. He got this technical foul just off of his history, right? It could have been intentional. He could have done it, with a purpose. But to me, I don't know. It's the same thing with Dennis Schroeder. Both of these guys have a history of sometimes doing certain things that just uncalled for. But I will say this. Marcus Smart has to learn how to control himself in big moments. He plays extremely hard, but this is not the first time in the last couple of weeks that he has got a technical or did something crazy on the defensive end for us, costing, guys just extra points and extra possessions. Like, those things have to stop, especially if he's called the leader of this ball team.
I agree with Perk. I feel like this was a reputation call on Marcus Smart. Scal, is this something that he can work his way out of?
No, so I'm going to say you guys are both wrong. They called Adam Silver. He was having dinner. That's why it took 6 minutes. Adam, what do you want to do on this call? They showed it on his phone. He basically was like, okay, my thing. Because, by the way, those officials are not ejecting Marcus Smart. Whoever's in the replay center probably is not. That went, in 6 minutes, that went all the way up the chain of command to find out what they were going to do. So,
Scal, just to clarify,
to me, that was...
You said it in the game. That was not his second tech. Why was he ejected on that one play?
I don't know the ruling on that, but like I said, in 6 minutes, that went up the chain of command. So whoever's in charge, those are the ones that made that decision. So they're not. I guarantee they didn't get it wrong.
So they just bend. My thing is this, Abby and Scal. So they just bend the rules, right? Like, we're going to not assess a flagrant foul. We're going to give him a tech and an injection. I never saw that period. Like
And
in my
Steph,
14.
Yeah.
You go up the chain of command.
I think
It's
you
the
guys
same
are looking
command that just handed down a one-game suspension to Marcus Smart.
Yeah, you guys are. I think you're reading it the wrong way. I think that's like punching a guy in the face. That's the guy. I think that's what they look at it like. Like you can punch a guy in the face and be ejected. Do you guys understand?
Yeah.
You can get a tech and be ejected by punching somebody in the face. That's how they looked at it. They didn't look at it like, well, now we got to give him two.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah.